Hello.
You're so Rico Suave.
Whatever. Rico Suave.
Yes. Hey guys, good afternoon. It is Thursday and
It's a beautiful day.
yes, tomorrow's Friday. So we're going to do a Facebook Live session this day and we're going to wait for a few folks to come on. So Matt, do you have any good jokes?
Good jokes. Suitable for all audiences. I'm scratching the virtual cloud there.
Okay, let's try another
Don't have
advantage. What's the craziest thing you've seen in the past week?
There's a lot. I've seen a lot. That's too much to mention. Craziest thing I've seen. Well, I saw that car flipped over on Beach Drive. I mean, I'm not sure how that happens. How could you be driving fast enough on Beach Drive to actually flip an automobile?
I don't know. We always ask ourselves this question. You see some overturned vehicle on any road, like a highway. You're like, how does that even happen? Let alone Beach Drive. Where literally, yeah, you can only go like what, 30
I'm
miles
thinking
an hour?
alcohol could have been involved. It was late at night.
Uh-huh.
So for those on Beach Drive late at night, I guess now you have to look over your shoulder for cars that are careening out of control. But fortunately, it wasn't anything more than just a reckless driver.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a nice Thursday out there. Everybody's working away hard, getting ready for the weekend, which I hear is going to rain a little bit, but right now it's beautiful. It's a great day to go out and look at houses.
Yeah.
Cindy Kilpatrick joined.
Hi,
Hey,
Cindy.
How are we doing today? Hope things are good there as well. It's a nice warm day here. Been out with buyers all morning. What have you been up to?
What haven't we been up to? Let's see. Negotiated a couple contracts. Got a couple things under contract, which is fantastic. Let's see. Had a meeting with our team, which we do every week. Keep everybody on the same page. Make sure we're all aligned towards the same goals. And now we're here, meeting up with you all. So I think we've given enough time. I think we can get started.
Okay.
Yeah. What's the first question, Estelle?
All right. What happens when the inspection goes wrong and you're not buying a house that you thought you were buying?
Fascinating question. So the theme for this week, we should probably preface this, is what happens when deals go upside down? Why does that happen? And what can we do? So tell me that question again, Estelle.
Yeah. So what happens when the inspection goes wrong and you're not buying a house that you thought you were buying?
Yeah. Well, it can be a commonplace problem. You know, it depends on the city that you live in. For example, you know, here we live in a city with a lot of old houses, specifically St. Pete, and so we have a lot of 1920s builds. And so you look at something that's very charming, beautifully renovated, and you go through the inspection period and you have your inspections done, and what do you know? There are things wrong with the house. And I guess that's the first point, right? If you're not ready for problems in an inspection, then you're probably not ready to buy an old home, right?
Yeah. I mean, a lot of the homes we have here in St. Pete are 80, 90, 100 years old. You know, a 100-year-old product is going to have some imperfections, and if you're comfortable with a few of those and, you know, you can make the minimum requirements for what we call a 4-point inspection that insurance companies require, and therefore anyone getting a mortgage is going to require to pass. As long as you get those 4-point items passed, which is your roof, electrical system, plumbing, and air conditioning, you've got a pretty sound, mechanically sound home. It's going to protect you from the elements. It's going to allow you to use the home the way you would think of using a home. Then there are questions of, you know, does it have the latest and greatest lighting? Probably not. Does it have an incredible insulation factor of an efficiency that today's new homes have? Probably not. And so where on the scale of acceptable does an old home really line up for you? And I think most people who find themselves with an inspection that has gone wrong and are not buying the home they thought they were buying anymore, oftentimes weren't prepared for the type of home they were buying. And new construction is a great thing then for anyone who has any qualms, any queasiness about imperfections in their home. So we do have some great new construction builders here in Pinellas County as well as the Bay Area. We're certainly happy to chat offline about that. But what do you do when you realize you're not getting that home? Well, then it's important to try to negotiate to what you find is a satisfactory level of repair or remediation of the problems. And hopefully your agent is savvy at working with the other agent to get that done.
So the one thing I'll point out, he's absolutely correct, and to build on this is a lot of buyers will be like, forget it, I don't even want it, it's got problems, I just throw the whole deal away.
It's a can of worms. It's a money pit.
It's a can of worms, money pit. Bad. That don't think like that is our encouragement to you. It doesn't have to be like that. There is no perfect home unless you're buying new construction, and it's barely perfect at that point. So keep an open mind. Look, we can negotiate a ton of repairs. We do it constantly. So don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Just make sure that you've thought through sort of the repairs with your agent, of course. We help get bids, for example, to figure out what are the costs going to be even for the seller to repair. A lot of times we'll negotiate that. But at the same time, you've got to keep an open mind because perfection does not exist really in the real estate world. So we just try to work around limited ideas of perfection that we have, and make something as perfect as we can get it for you at the right price, obviously. So hope that answers your question. What was the next one, Estelle?
All right, just some shout outs to go out there. We have Leonard on.
Hey,
We have Lorraine.
Hello.
What's up?
Marcus Martin.
Marcus Martin.
We have Clinton.
Clinton's in the house.
Justin. And Brian Heckman says hello.
Mr.
Awesome.
Heckman. Who's that? Justin Bean? Who is it?
I don't remember that last name.
All right. Well, we'll
Okay.
answer the questions just the same.
All right.
Next question on deck. Estelle, what do we got?
All right. What happens when an appraisal comes in under value? Is there anything that you can do to protect yourself, whether you are a seller or buyer, from a low appraisal?
Wow, we're dealing with some of these things, frankly, this week. So in an appraisal situation, most people are going to be financed. There's cash deals out there and you can still get an appraisal should you wish to do that. And if you do, then you can have an appraisal contingency written into the contract, which basically states that if the house doesn't appraise for the sales price, then you basically have the ability to cancel the contract or renegotiate the price. So that's a built-in lever, whether you're cash or you're finance, to ensure that you're buying a property at or below an appraised value. The other option is, through a finance contingency, you will have a minor appraisal a contingency built in there. The difference being is that if you have enough cash in the deal, the seller may force their hand a little bit into having you purchase that home. So it's a little bit of a slippery slope. The financing contingency can be a little bit of a stopgap for you in an appraisal situation where it does come in low. However, it's not a be all end all gap. So the final way to do it is really through an appraisal contingency. So it puts a little bit of the burden for the appraiser to do their job, and for you to have a comfort level going into a contract. So.
Awesome. Okay. All right. Question number 3. How do I keep from having a deal blow up at the 11th hour?
Great communication. So your agent communicating great with you,
Yeah.
knowing that agent is a good communicator, communicating with the other agent involved, the other side, the other clients. Maybe there is only one agent involved, but how free-flowing is expectation and communication between all parties? If everyone's got similar expectations and those have been level set by the agents, usually you don't have any problems. But it's not a perfect world. Sometimes things get miscommunicated, and overstating and recommunicating and double checking that the intentions of your agent are in line with yourselves. Always great to do before you get into the position where you're negotiating a contract or going under contract. And usually things blowing up at the 11th hour are more likely lack of communication.
Yeah, and I would also say that the whole communication piece, and you're touching on that you've got to trust the person that you're working with. There are a lot of people in your world, whether they're friends or family, that say, you know what, I know a real estate agent, or my brother's a real estate agent, or my cousin's uncle, or whoever. That's all great. There's tons of us running around. At the same time, this is your biggest investment likely you're going to make in your life. So you've got to make sure that you are 100% comfortable with the person, their ethics, their morals, their negotiating capability, their connections in the community that can make sure that your offer gets seen, for example. Those things you really don't think about when you pick an agent, but you should as a buyer. So deals falling apart at the 11th hour, those things are critical, like Matt was saying, communication. And also from the lender side, you've got to have a great lender. There's a great lender, I think, that's on the line here, Brian Heckman. We do a lot of business with Heckman Group. There's other lenders that we partner with, and we do that for a reason, so that we don't have issues that blow up at the 11th hour. I could name names, but I won't, as to how that could happen. But again, talk to your agent to make sure that you're partnering with a lender that can get you in the deal and stay in the deal to the final end, and not have heartache at the end.
Mm-hmm.
Great answer. All right. So why do properties seemingly go under contract and then come back out so frequently?
It's a question we get a lot.
It can be lots of things. Yeah. I mean, you have human beings making offers on homes, meaning they're putting on a piece of paper what they're willing to pay for that house. That is getting received by someone that's never met them and saying, on paper, this looks great, let's do this. And then very quickly, a lot of times buyers can either discover something about the home that they didn't take enough time to read about. Maybe they need a garage and it doesn't have one. Believe it or not, I've seen it. Or it was had a pool and they didn't want one. Or they're in such a frenzy to get something and get it under contract that they actually didn't take both the husband and wife to the home. And the wife thinks it's a great idea, or the husband does, and the other spouse hasn't even been in there. Mm-hmm. That happens a lot. Happened last week to us, basically for that very reason. Mm-hmm. So it can oftentimes be a buyer's issue. They're not fully aware of what they're doing, or what everyone in the buying process is doing. Or it can also be that the approval of their financing wasn't fully baked, and the agent that they're with maybe wasn't checking to make sure that that was rock solid, and sometimes that'll lead things astray. Those are the ones that fall out fastest, typically speaking. It's usually from the buyer side, unless like the seller misrepresented something, which is very rare to happen with a good agent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. What else you have?
All right, last question. What's the number one reason that contracts fall apart?
Contracts falling apart, I would say it's probably inspections.
Yeah, we focus predominantly, in some of the very core neighborhoods in St. Pete and Pinellas County, and that are going to have these older 100-year-old homes almost. So that can be one of the number one reasons for us. Other reasons I'd say that contracts fall apart is something changes. I mean, literally, it's a life and death world. We're representing living people. There can be tragedies, there can be unexpected events in their lives, and sometimes those will cause a seller or a buyer to have to do something totally different than what they expected.
Mm-hmm. And along that same line, I mean, the change that would be one of the most common ones is that, it's a contingency contract where a buyer has to sell their own home to purchase this new home. So if their deal falls apart, then subsequently the next deal is going to fall apart. So, and we see a lot of that because not everyone's got an incredible amount of disposable income, so you typically have to sell one property to come into the next. So I'd say that would be another common one.
Yeah, it kind of ties back to the other question about why things pop out so fast. Sometimes someone's getting a job offer, interviewed, has the job, and they're basically moving here next month, and then that whole division gets moved to Austin, Texas. Mm-hmm. We'll see that too. People thought they were moving here and suddenly they're not. Or with military families, their lives can sometimes change pretty quickly too.
Yeah.
We see it all.
Awesome. All right, that's all we have for you guys.
Okay.
Well, hopefully next week it's smoother sailing and everybody stay out of the rain.
All right, guys. Thanks so much. We'll talk to you next week.
Take care.